How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Durag Daniel. Oh, my bad. My bad, no. It's RuffledRowlit. How's it going? Welcome to a brand new video, guys. It is late at night, and my receding hairline was not ready to be making a video at this time. But yes, we're going to be talking about, of course, some Pokemon leaks. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. Now, the first things first, there has been two massive leaks. Now, I cannot really show them to you purely from a visual point of view. I literally cannot show this to you because it would get me in trouble, which is the last thing I'm looking for. But I will give you context for what we're talking about. Now, below right here, there is an image, and I would highly recommend to go just check out Central Leaks or join one of the many Discord servers out there that are confirming all this stuff. But underneath this post right here is a picture of Mega Starmie. It is not the most clear picture, but it is a real picture. So yes, Mega Starmie has leaked. The image that is there is real. It is confirmed by multiple sources, and it is also confirmed by some other sources and people like that. So yes, if you just scroll down on this page on Central Leaks, if you don't know Central Leaks on Twitter, just go on there and you'll see it. Now, for context, the image practically looks just like this concept art. I'll show you if we just go back here. It practically looks like this, and this is just a fan-made concept art for what Mega Starmie could look like by Cardinal. But that's more or less what it's going to look like, give or take, based on the leaks. And based on that leaked image. Like I said, I cannot show you the actual leaked image. Just don't want to get in trouble. Last thing I want is Nintendo Ninjas dealing with me. But that was one of the first things. The second thing, though, is, and this is the one that's a little bit more uncertain, and I wouldn't say it's real, which is there was also an image posted by, as far as I'm aware, by another Twitter user, and this individual posted a picture of what's supposed to be Gen 10. Now, I'll describe the image to you, just in the simplest of terms. I'll describe what's happening on it, and I'll show a picture that can kind of give you a general idea what we're talking about. And also, this image was taken by I think somebody on, I'm not sure who did it, but shout out to the people on Bald Goods, which is the Discord server, because somebody took a picture of Lumineon from Pokemon Snap to use this as sort of a comparison between this image and the leaked image. Now, what am I talking about? Well, basically, an image leaked from a Twitter user going ahead and saying that this is a Gen 10 image, right? And they showed a picture of Lumineon underwater. Now, it's not this image. This is just something you can look at to kind of think of and imagine what we're talking about. Now, the actual image of the Lumineon in this leaked image is supposed to be a Gen 10 image. This right here is Pokemon Snap. The one I'm referring to is supposed to be a Gen 10 image. Now, what's the whole deal with it? Well, basically, it sort of implies, at least based on what people are speculating right now, that maybe diving is back in Generation 10, but also the picture itself, like graphically, I mean, again, it is a blurry picture. You guys know how these fucking leaks work. You know how this is. But at the end of the day, it does seem like it might, generally speaking, look better than, Legends EA and stuff like that. Like, it might look like it actually is going to be a graphical leap somewhat for Pokemon. Again, there's no guarantees. We are talking about Pokemon here, but it does imply the possibility of dive returning. And I think, I think most of us would enjoy dive returning. Again, it's a feature in Pokemon that we haven't really seen since, Oras was, the last time. And ever since, we haven't really seen anything else like that. But also, the reason I think dive might be related to it is because there has been some rumors about Gen 10 being based on islands and sort of island hopping. And especially with the recent re-trademarking of Pokemon Sun and Moon, there has been a lot of speculation that something Gen 10 is going to be something in that direction. Not Sun and Moon itself, literally, but think about how Sun and Moon had you going from island to island, and that was based on Hawaii. Well, the name for Pokemon Gen 10 is the code name of Gaia. Now, Gaia is I think Greek or Latin word for, specifically Earth, right? Planet Earth. And because it would be related to Greek or Latin, a lot of people are assuming that the next, region could be based on either Greece or Italy. Both of these have been sort of hinted through different ways inside of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Remember, Pokemon games do have a tendency of leaving hints in previous generations or previous games that then lead to actual stuff later on. A good example of this is the little tiki, little souvenir that they sort of had in if I'm not mistaken, Pokemon Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire and X and Y, and that was hinting at specifically Sun and Moon, right? Because that same exact one shows up later, or it could have been earlier than that. It could have actually been it might have been Diamond and Pearl, and then hinting the Oras remix. again, I'm waffling here because I cannot remember the exact things. It is like midnight right now when I'm recording this, and I just literally got on so I could cover this stuff and get it out there to you guys. And we'll have a longer video again tomorrow if more stuff drops during the night, because right now, what's kind of happening within the leaker sphere, it seems like, is that all of these things, all of these leaks are most likely, and my phone is blowing up with like messages and shit, but like it seems like what's happening at the moment is that there is a sort of like weird thing happening from the original leaker. Now, who's the original person of all this? Well, it's whoever hacked into or socially engineered their way into the massive Terra leak, right? The person who got their hands on the giant data leak from Game Freak. Well, that same individual, that same group of people have been able to, I guess, get access to Gen 10 and Legend ZA. That's where we got all those like megas from ZA and all that kind of stuff. That's where all that comes from. That's literally where all of that is from. Like straight up, all of that is from that same exact source. And so what's happened since then is that same source, that original person who, you know, spread the Terra leak, has apparently given access to certain images or even builds. Like, and this is the craziest one, they have potentially given out builds, like actual playable versions of these games to people, if that's the case, right? Otherwise, how would they have the images? Well, the only other way would be if the leaker, the original Terra leaker, the person who got access to literally Game Freak servers, if that person played the games, played through the builds of Gen 10, and played through the build of Pokemon, Legend ZA that they've got their hands on, played through those builds, and then through playing them, they were able to take these screenshots. Now, the one that makes the most sense would probably be Legend ZA leaks, because keep in mind, if they do have their hands on really any form of Gen 10 build, how exactly are they playing that build? I mean, unless like the build that's there is one that runs through whatever proprietary like game engine they're using. Because remember, like, Game Freak uses different engines for whatever they're making. They had a specific engine for X and Y and stuff like that. So it could be possible that that's how they were able to like actually get images. I mean, you can also, of course, data mine these things. But again, the main point is that all of this stuff is most likely originating from the same exact source, right? It's all coming from one and the same place, which is the Terra leak, the original big leak from last year. The thing that literally blew up the community. You guys remember what happened to Typhlosion? My point is that that's where all this comes from. So if you're wondering where all this information is from, what the deal is with it, if it holds any value, if it is real, it's most likely real. The Luminion one, though, is the one that's like a little bit like iffy. There's no confirmation on that one. Nothing on that one is like guaranteed or confirmed. So don't worry about that. Like, it's just keep that in mind. But again, it seems like things are going crazy. I mean, even people like, Pori Leaks are just saying like, hey, red alert, be warned, shit's going to be out there potentially because somebody is being stupid and leaking images. Again, I don't know what the deal is. I'm not involved with like, what's happening with these people. I'm just mostly like paying attention, just like you, from the outside, looking in, and it's all crazy. I'm going to be honest with you. It's a little insane, to say the least. It's a little crazy. But that's not the only thing, though. We do, of course, have just other topics to cover. One of the things I've been wanting to talk about today, but I just didn't get the time to do the video, was specifically more to do with, in this case, Legend ZA, right? So, again, I'm just going to clarify this one more time. Yes, there are 2 leaked images. You can just go on Twitter. You'll find it. I think Central Leaks will have those images, so please go there if you want to check them out. I don't know how trustworthy the second image is. I know the Starmie image is on Central Leaks Twitter. It is confirmed. You can go on there. You can even go on 4chan. They even have it there for Pokemon 4chan. You can find it on there. And the Luminion image, that is not confirmed. But based on how like some other people in the scene, people that do know stuff, are reacting, it seems like it could be real based on the reactions, right? Because I'm seeing right now, it seems like there's a lot of confusion, frustration, anger, a lot of that kind of stuff. So please keep that in mind. If you do want more details, just go on Twitter. It's the best place you're going to find these images and stuff. I won't be showing them on here because I'm just here to talk about this stuff and just, share my thoughts. But let's move on to something slightly different. It's going to be about Legend ZA, and this is going to do, because it's something I've been wanting to talk about, but It's to do with this comparisons. This from Gator EX, who did a comparison of Legends ZA on the Switch versus Switch 2, using footage from both the first and second trailer to try and match the similar, shots and animations. And this is a pretty solid video to show you kind of the differences between the two versions, right? Now, the biggest difference and the only real difference that you can notice, like graphically speaking, the Switch version doesn't really do anything differently. Like the actual real difference between these two versions of the game is just that because of the Switch 2, that version of the game just runs at the 60 frames a second. That's about it. Or like, I think it's going to be, since the Switch 2 has a variable refresh rate, right? Like VRR or whatever, the refresh rate can go up and down, right? So it can go literally between 0 frames to 120 frames, right? That's the whole thing. So you could be getting frames between that range. But the gameplay seems to show at least 60 frames being played at versus, the original Switch, which is playing it at about 30. So again, if you're looking to get like extra features, extra, DLC or stuff like that, that's not going to be part of the Switch 2 version of the game. It's practically the same game, but just the Switch 2 version just runs at, I'm going to say, the proper speed, the speed that should be running at, as opposed to the Switch 1 version. So there's pretty much that. I mean, you can see the movement is way smoother, especially here in these scenes. You can see this like you can tell the frame rate is much slower over here and just much smoother over here. Again, just a small little point I want to bring up, because I'm going to be real with you. I don't really know, because I'm not planning on buying a Switch until much later. Maybe even next year is when I'm probably going to be buying one. So I'm just not sure if it's worth it to buy an entire console, because I mostly play Pokemon. So don't know if it's worth buying an entire console just yet, because ZA should still be playable on, the regular Switch, and the only difference mainly is performance. So if you're looking for performance, if you want your game to run as smooth as possible, you should definitely get a Switch 2 if you want to. But if you don't really care about performance, you should still be able to get it on the regular Switch. And I'm pretty sure the regular Switch version of the game should be cheaper than the Switch 2 version, if I'm not mistaken. It should be cheaper. Even if it's $10 cheaper, I think that's still worthwhile, because again, unless you want the performance boost, which is definitely worth it if you care about it. And I normally do care about this kind of stuff, but not enough to buy an entire console right now, because we know that Gen 10's coming next year, and then Gen 10's 100% going to be on the Switch 2 and not the Switch 1 at all. It's going to be a Switch 2 exclusive, because that's how they sell more consoles, because Pokemon is one of the biggest franchises, the biggest media franchise ever in terms of gross revenue, and it's also one of the best sellers on the Nintendo franchise hardware, so to say, right? So again, it's one of those things where like it's guaranteed to be on there on the Switch 2 specifically. So in case you are considering it, there's the comparison. Great little post by Gator EX in case you want to check it out. So shout out to him on that one. Let's move on to a quick little theory from Soul for the rest of this video, which is the Pokemon Legends EA protagonist names being Paxton. And this is something I didn't even notice, by the way. I didn't even point this out previously. It's like a detail that I totally missed and glossed over when I did my entire little breakdown of the previous trailers. But yes, in the previous trailer, we actually could see the names of our main characters. So yes, the new rivals, of course, and our character names, our protagonist names, are, for the male character is Paxton, and for the female character it's Harmony, which is really interesting that those would be the names. Of course, we know the rivals Urbane and Tawny, with of course Urbane being a reference to urban and Tawny to a townie, of course that being geographical locations or types, I guess the etymology of I guess, no, not etymology is the study of words. Sorry, it's late. I'm trying to think of the right thing to say. My point is, it's basically the name of, I guess, the place you live in, right? Like, or kind of like a zone within you live, right? Like if you're a townie, you live in a small town, perhaps. If you're urban, you're from an urbanized area, from a more urban place. So there you go. But what's the deal then with Paxton and Harmony? Well, here is the theory, at least from Soul, which is that the names being Paxton, Peace Town, and Harmony, Harmon Y, I guess, Peace, Paxton, I guess, Pax with an X, and then Harmony with a Y. X and Y was a fun detail, but it's very curious that they have specifically different names from our rivals. This further solidifies that Urbane and Tawny are their own independent characters from our protagonist, and yet they're still literal reskins of the protagonist, which yes, they are, by the way. If you look at these two, They're the exact same character, just inverted colors and without a hat on. So literally, it's the same exact models. They've just been inverting the colors on them, and that's about it. Don't know if it's done as an intentional thing for the sake of storytelling, or if it's just done as a, you know what I mean? We're too lazy to work on another model. I don't really know, but either way. They do say, though, he does say here, though, usually when the rival is our opposite unused gender variant, the names remain the same. It seems that these characters may have a big part to play in ZA's plot, which is probably the reason why that they're an inverted version of us. I think that has more to do with it. Like, it has far more to do with the plot. It seems that these characters may have a big part in the ZA plot, to which I have plenty of various theories coming soon. So yeah, again, it is interesting. I thought I would share with you guys. Just get your thoughts and opinions on it in the comment section down below. And I think we have just one more thing, which is going to be again from Soul, which is this right here. Now, this from him, and it's a theory. It says, it went unnoticed, but there were sadly big plot and progression and Pokemon details regarding Legends EA leaks yesterday, now deleted. One thing solidified a theory I've had, which is I'm convinced that every Mega will eventually be in ZA. Even if they're not all base game, I think there might be some kind of DLC that will add them all. The bottom line should result in something similar to this. Now, I guess what he's trying to say, like, is that all of these Pokemon will have their Megas in the game, as in, like, all of these will have Megas. So that would be like Gen 1, Gen 2, Gen 3, and then Gen 6, right? Like all the starter Pokemon. At least that's what he's implying. Which I don't know. Like, I mean, fair enough. It would be cool, but we'll see. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be it for today. Thank you all for watching. I say today, but it's literally midnight. So thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out, and bye-bye. Have a good one. Good night. Peace.